One of the great joys of my life is to be in communication with animals. I also have done this with plants. In fact, I started my intuitive communication with other discrete entities, other beings other than myself, by talking to plants. I must have read about it. Oh, I know. Could it have been in the 70s? It was probably in the 1970s sometime. And I think I had just read about the Findhorn community in Scotland, which became famous for a number of reasons. And one of them was that the people who settled in this place, whose intention was to live in harmony with the spirit, with nature spirits. They were growing roses that were ridiculously healthy in soil that should not have supported them. They were growing cabbages this big. They were communing with the devas, with the spirits of the plants. I thought that sounded wonderful. So I was sitting at a friend's house and there was this potted plant next to me. And I said hello to the potted plant. And I saw in my mind's eye a little being about that big who jumped up and said, "Hi." And it gave me its name and it said it takes care of the plant. And it was very happy I was there. So I thought, oh, it was really interesting. And then much, much, much later, I realized that I needed horses in my life. And through taking care of horses, I found an audio tape book on how to communicate with animals. And so I listened to it. And because I had been a lifelong meditator at that point, and I was well into my 40s, I was able to put to use the lessons about here's what you have to do in order to hear what another animal, because I'm an animal, has to say. And I put it to good use. And so I began listening to animals. And in my very first session, I was astounded when I heard this horse, who was the first being I communicated with. I heard this horse in my head. I heard a voice that was a sad, depressed woman talking about how she did not like having babies. And it was heartbreaking. And if I had had any idea that communicating with animals was anything but 100% real communication with another thinking, feeling, sentient being with a soul, gone, because this was another being like me. And through the years, I've been communicating with animals, and my practice has changed a little bit over the years. In the beginning, I was listening to what they had to say, and of course, I would pass on any information that their people wanted them to know or to ask them. And I heard it in my head as words, and at the same time, I would feel their emotion in my body somewhere. And then I began to be aware that if there was a stricture, if something, the energy flow wasn't right in an animal, I felt it in my own being. If it was something in their stomach, I felt it in my stomach. If it was something in their throat, I felt it in my throat. And when that happens, sometimes I will, as I'm doing the communication, I will draw a picture of what I'm seeing. Sometimes I see a line of energy through a dog or a cat or a goat or a sheep or a horse or whatever. And I see that right there's this spot that needs healing. And so I send it along to the person. In the last maybe 6 or 7 or 8 years, a very exciting change has come about, which is that I find myself doing healing work shamanically. Shamanically is a word I use with great care. And I only use this word because I learned about the process through the Foundation for Shamanic Studies. I say it's shamanic because I am not the facilitator of the healing. In the animal communication session, another being, either a dog for dogs or a cat for cats, walks into the scene, sort of looks at me and says, I've got this covered. And I watch what that animal in spirit does in the animal communication session. And I describe it to the person who has, 3D earth-based control over the animal on whose behalf I'm working. And I see that there is a transformation or a healing of the afflicted animal. And I have received feedback that this transformation has lasting effects. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. It is always awesome. So I am thrilled to be able to offer this in addition to the he said, she said part of animal communication, this magnificent healing. When I communicate with animals, my preferred way of working is to work alone at my computer, looking at a photograph of the animal on my screen. Because when we make a connection, information comes really fast. And I'm typing really, really, really fast. I'm typing everything the animal says, everything the animal feels that I can feel. I'm typing out a description of the background, of the environment in which I'm seeing the animal. Animals who have passed away, who are no longer in their bodies on Earth, are frequently, if they have just died, because there is no death, there's only death of, the physical. If they've just passed away, they're in kind of a holding pattern. Cats, I find, are in a holding area that looks like it's diffused through a piece of amber. It's very amber. It's sort of dark, muted. Everything is muted. None of the other cats there are active and lively and doing anything. Everybody's it's sort of like the recovery room. Someone once told me that it was what limbo is. I am not from a tradition which has limbo as a thing, but from what I understand, this is limbo for the cats. Dogs are in another kind of area, also frequently a kind of a cave-like area. And sometimes there is communication going on among the dogs. If they have been able to transition, boom, just like that, then frequently they will say, hi, I'm here. I'm great. This is wonderful. My leg doesn't hurt anymore. I'm running around. This is terrific. They're always happy. And so I type everything out very quickly. If there are songs that occur, and frequently there are songs, I record the songs and I send them along as an audio file. If there are images, I create an image using my graphics program on my computer, and I send that along. So everything is done long distance. Occasionally I do something in person, but what I find is that when I'm in person, if an animal comes into my place, they're thinking, what's this? Where am I? If I go to their place, there may be things going on that are disturbing. So that's why I like to do it one-on-one. Animal communication, it's just wonderful. And it's really, once you get the hang of it, it's really easy. And it is always humbling because the animals have so much to teach us about being present, about being authentic. That's all they can be. They cannot dissemble. Animals cannot lie. They are who they are, and they are full of love, and they are here to be in joyful communication and relationship with us. I love animal communication.